internet of value at Ripple, we're thinking much bigger than just cross-border payments. It's kind of like Amazon with rare books in the early days, just this market happens to be a $10 trillion market.
We are at a historic turning point.
Said in the past that you are doing for money what email did for communication.
Moving the whole revolution forward.
Got it.
There's trillions of dollars parked around the world. XRP.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over Swift one day?
Well,
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, Turf Hour Script, let's get right in today's video. We got a lot to cover. We got a brand new video from the Swift CEO that was just published hours ago. You got to take a listen to what he says. We're going to go over the G20 roadmap. We're going to go over Citibank, JP Morgan, and things are heating up and they're keeping Ripple, XRP silent. And remember when I told you guys that the IMF, the G20 basically trumps the financial infrastructures and whatever they say goes. And here we have hardcore evidence that Ripple is their basically best man. Okay, this is absolutely crazy. When will people wake up and actually try to see what's going on behind the scenes? Let's start up with this breaking news. CITI develops new digital asset capabilities for institutional clients. CITI Token Services will integrate tokenized deposits and smart contracts into CITI's global network, upgrading core cash management and trade finance capabilities. This can't be done alone. You're going to need the private sector, folks. Wait until you hear this. Institutional clients have a need for always-on programmable financial services, and CITI Token Services will provide cross-border payments, liquidity, and automated trade finance solutions on 24/7 basis. And that's amazing. Cross-border payments, liquidity, that's what the CITI Token is going to provide. Take a listen to what Garlinghouse said here a couple of years ago.
To some degree, Citibank and HSBC, really the top two, JPM, those are the top three liquidity banks. And when you're sending SWIFT messages, you're sending messages to banks to release liquidity and making sure the debits and credits match. So to some degree, really boil it down, Ripple's competing with the liquidity of Citi and the messaging of SWIFT, but in one, because we're both messaging and liquidity messages.
It's an all-in-one enterprise. And when we go over the SWIFT CEO, listen to what he says. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. This is crazy. CITI Token Services has also been applied to a global cash management pilot, enabling clients to transfer liquidity between Citi branches on a 24/7 basis. This is not interoperable. They just said between Citi branches only. And remember what Brad Garlinghouse said here about the JPM coin. It's the same thing.
He was interviewing me. I said, so is Morgan Stanley going to use the JPM coin? And he's like, well, probably not, And so, well, is Citi going to use the JPM coin? Is B of A going to use the JPM coin? Is PNC? And the answer is no. If you're just moving it within the JPM ledger, and it has to be dollar to dollar, a one-to-one backing, it honestly doesn't actually, I don't understand what problem that solves.
Do you see where the conflict is?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that's really interesting about the JPM coin is that it's essentially just a database rebranded as a blockchain. I mean, there's really no inherent need for using a blockchain for that.
And now let's go back to 2022 when Citi partnered with Matico to develop institutional digital asset custody capabilities. Listen to this part. CEO and founder of Matico commented, "We are pleased to team up with Citi, one of the largest security services firms, to support them in their vision to bridge digital and traditional assets. The initiative is a market-defining moment for institutional adoption of digital assets." And then what happened? Ripple bought Matico for $250 million a year later. And then just to calm down the hype, Citibank came out and said, we're going to review our partnership with crypto custodian Matico. What are the odds, right? What are the odds? Do you see where these things are going? And when you hear what Swift CEO has to say, that's when it's really going to kick in. And they're saying that JP Morgan moves $10 trillion in transactions on a daily basis, folks. On a daily basis. And my good old friend here, Anderson, this is facts. The world won't agree on a JPM coin. The world won't agree on a Citi coin. The world won't agree on a Wells Fargo coin. And you guys see his point here. They won't agree on a PayPal coin. You need interoperability. And you know what? Let's just get into it. Listen to what the SWIFT CEO has to say here about connecting the whole economy together so they could communicate, bringing all the countries together, bringing 200 countries together. And that is why the IMF, again, is hand in hand with Ripple. People, please wake up.
Interoperability.
Well, interoperability, it's a word, a buzzword, actually, that has been there for decades now. Actually, SWIFT reason of existence has always been interoperability. Interoperability of economies, actually connect more than 200 countries, and particularly their payments and securities infrastructures with each other, always with financial institutions playing a front and center role. And now we could say that interoperability probably is moving into a new era, interoperability of any forms of value, whether it is CBDCs in the payment space or actually tokenization of assets in the security space, which is an area where we're focusing extremely on when it comes to proof of concepts and sandboxes that we'll be sharing progress with the community as we move along, because that is clearly part of the how interoperability can play out going forward. But there is another angle to interoperability as well, which is the fact that there is a multiplicity of networks and systems that coexist to make sure that these economies can interoperate. And what SWIFT is doing is embracing all of these new innovations, actually from incumbents or new players coming to the international sphere, and that's why we are working hand in hand with many of them. There will be some announcements made at Sibos in that regard, but we're working with many of them in both allowing them to take advantage of all the data services that we have developed over the past few years when it comes to anomaly detection services, pre-validation services, traceability and tracking services, but also or making sure that we can provide data integrity end-to-end for the end customer, regardless of the network that is being used, whether the payment is initiated in SWIFT and ends up in another platform or vice versa.
And now let's get into the best part of the video. The SWIFT CEO basically double confirming our hardcore evidence of the G20 roadmap. Listen to what he says here, and then we're going to get into the roadmap. Remember what I said, the G20 will trump everybody else, okay? And Ripple is their best friend.
Operate with each other and obviously affecting global trade, but it's also led to a massive technological innovation that we see around us. Big tech players, new technologies, fintechs, new forms of value such as CBDCs and tokenization of assets are clearly disrupting the way we operate in financial services. And it's also having an effect on international transactions, which is, by the way, being a focus area for the G20 for the past few years. So definitely it's one of the topics that will be heavily discussed at Sibos.
Excellent. And then you mentioned the G20, and obviously the G20 has set these quite ambitious targets when it comes to cross-border payments. And again, I think that's going to be a hot topic at Sibos.
Yeah.
How do you think that's progressing? And then what is the SWIFT community doing? And how is it playing a part in driving that forward?
Well, it's been progressing really well since 2019. And there is strong momentum in the industry towards the 2027 targets in terms of cost, speed, transparency, choice, and access.
And this roadmap, enhancing cross-border payments, October 13th, 2021. We went over this, but I'm going to go more in depth this time. Liquidity Bridge Exploration, November 2021. Ripple announced Liquidity Hub in the same month, okay? And when we go to the XRP scan, these numbers don't lie, and SWIFT even tested it. And this is crazy. This is not a coincidence, folks. Take a look at this, November, and it was done on a Sunday. I've always said this, we covered another video where big tech company, big financial institutions, all the tests that they did were done on Sundays because it's not a working day. Sunday, November 21st, look at that spike At the same time, the G20 was going to explore liquidity bridges, and Ripple debuted their liquidity hub in the same month. This is not a coincidence, folks. This is not a coincidence. And to go more in depth, number of payments from one account to another, okay? As you guys could see, this peak, never seen before, except right here, Sunday, March 19th. How ironic, the two biggest spikes done on the XRP scan are done on Sundays. And March 19th, you guys remember what happened, right? You guys ready for this? ISO 20022 coexistence begins opening new possibilities for cross-border payments. March 20th, 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and smash that like button. Let's go back. You know what? Let's go to another metric. Take a look at this, right? November 21st, payment volume spikes. Guess what? Again, March 19th, 2023. They did it on a Sunday. They come out and they make it public on their website. Are you guys seeing this right now? March 20th. You can't, I'm not even going to say you can't make this up, because if you think I'm making this up, you're clearly delusional. Number of currency exchanges. Take a look at this. Sunday, November 21st. Same thing, but we didn't see a spike in March 19th. But this just shows you that the G20 went full throttle and did many testings in that time frame of November 2021. And we know this video clip right here.
For a globally coordinated approach to crypto assets.
That was from the G20. This is a globally coordinated implementation of the new financial infrastructure. They're going to connect every economy together so they could communicate together. And we're going to go back to what I always say. Our little minds have not seen something like this before. So when we think about it, we don't think it could be achieved. Just like the 100, 200 floor story condos, or self-driving cars, or can we talk about self-AI robots that deliver food in New York or other countries, right? The world is evolving. It's gonna start picking up real fast. And you guys should all be thankful that we're all involved in this crypto sector. We have this opportunity to get in at these prices, because I've been all the way to the top and I've been all the way down to the bottom as well in this crypto sector. And I'm telling you, the ride up is always fun, but when you live through bear markets, it builds character in you, and you're gonna start shitting out diamonds, because those diamond hands, folks, diamond hands. I do appreciate every single one of you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and we will be back with another video.
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening. Flip the switch.
I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.